They're buried in a block of ice. So
Mark Griffin doesn't want to tempt himself, so he keeps his credit cards out of reach.
I brought my credit cards in today, but the funny thing is I had to take them out of my freezer because I had them frozen in a block of ice in my freezer.
The Montrealer turned to credit cards to pay his bills after he lost his job during the 2008 economic crisis.
I've been stuck carrying around this debt, slowly hammering away at it for the last decade.
He's still chipping away at about $20,000 on 4 credit cards. Starting today in Quebec, minimum payments will jump to 5% of the balance on new credit cards. Existing cardholders will pay 2%, increasing to 5% by 2025. Consumer advocates say other provinces will be watching what Quebec is doing closely.
The government thought that debt problems is critical on some cases.
Griffin is not alone in his debt. According to Equifax, the average Canadian consumer debt is around $23,000, excluding mortgages. In Quebec, that debt is closer to $19,000 on average.
We've gone away from being a nation of savers to a nation of savers to a nation of borrowers. And so when we have unexpected financial emergencies, we don't have the resources to rely upon savings.
Consider a credit card with a rate of 19.9% and a 2% minimum payment. A $1,000 bill will take 26 years to pay off, and you'd pay $3,000 in interest. If the minimum payment goes up to 5%, that same bill will take 6 years to pay off, and you'd pay about $442 interest. The problem, Griffin says, is the immediate effect, short-term pain for long-term gain.
My bills, they're going to jump up about $200 a month, which is going to be hard on me.
Griffin has taken on a lower interest personal loan with the goal of paying off all his credit card debt. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Okay, now Mark's story may or may not sound like your own, but with so many Canadians in debt, it's worth asking if this kind of change in the rules really goes the distance. So joining us now, Rubina Ahmed-Haq, a personal finance expert. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Mark is very clearly in a difficult situation, but tell me, how effective a strategy is it to pay even 5% on a credit card balance every month?
So I think what Quebec is doing is a step in the right direction, but really the problem is lack of financial education and financial literacy. So even if you were to take that 5% example, it will take you years to pay off a small $1,000, $2,000 bill. And so that's what we need to teach people, is that paying minimum or even 5% is going to increase your time that it takes to pay something off, and that you should be really paying the full balance off every month.
But in your experience, for people who habitually make the minimum monthly payment, is it a financial literacy issue, or is it because they simply can't afford to pay any more than that?
It's definitely a combination of both. It starts off as a person who doesn't have financial literacy skills, a lack of financial education. Maybe money wasn't a big topic in your home growing up. You get to university or college, you get that credit card, and you just start spending. And then you've got student debt. And as life goes on, things compound. You've got a mortgage, you've got kids, you've got car payments. And then all you can do is make minimum payments. So maybe even at that point, if all of a sudden you've got financial education, you're not able to do more than just pay the minimum.
Okay, so beyond giving everyone the advice that they love to get, which is don't spend money you don't have, how would you frame the problem so as to help people avoid getting into this mess in the first place?
Well, I think the number one thing is to teach people about how quickly credit card debt can add up. So as we talk about compound interest on investments and how quickly we can make money over time, it's the same thing when it comes to your debt, how quickly it can get worse and worse because you're paying interest on interest that you have accumulated. And so I think financial education is the key, so that people know that when they make a purchase, I've got to have that money in the bank. A credit card is a tool, not a resource. So always make sure that you have that in mind when you're shopping.
Okay, Rubina, thanks very much.
Thanks so much.